Hi there everyone, we're doing something a little bit different here today, so I thought I'd come out to Hattons over in Widnes and have a little chat with them. And there's a few areas that I think might be quite interesting for you and me, and who better to ask about the changes in retail than Hattons? They've been around for a very long time, so who knows better than they do about the changing habits of model railway buying. So come on with me. Let's go and ask them a few questions. Hi there.
Hi Jenny, great to see you. Welcome to Hattons.
Thank you very much. Good to be here. Hi there, welcome to Hattons, and it's really great to be invited along here. We're going to be doing a little bit of a chat about some of Hattons' new models and also the changes in the buying trends of railway modellers over the years. And in fact, we've got a retro Hattons advert from 2001, and we're going to just have a quick look at that later on and just see how buying habits have changed. Right, so Dave, tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you come to be here at Hattons?
Well, I've always been a modeller ever since I was sort of in short trousers, so to speak, and I've been here just coming up to 6 years now, and come up to be the buyer for the company really, as well as featuring some of the YouTube videos and such like. And it's a great place to work, but also a really great hobby to be involved in. There's so much passion, there's so much brilliant products available at the moment, and it's just great to speak to people about them as well, really. So there's a lot of knowledge and a lot of fun to discuss.
Brilliant. I mean, do you find there's one of the little risks of working in a model railway environment and being a modeller as well? Do you just spend an awful lot of money here?
a lot of money here, mainly, yeah. I think they've plugged my pay packet straight into the till in the store now, so it works out, but it really does it carries across for me as well. I've got my own layout at home, and you've got a few as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I find a lot of enjoyment in building layouts.
Yes.
So I'm just at the moment finishing off another layout. I've converted my loft, and I built Weir Yard, which is kind of a homage to Tyne Yard. But prior to that, I built Bolton Trinity Street Station in my shed. I built Garden Railways, and even going right back, I built small industrial-sized layouts, things like Trafford Park, and all sorts of fictional layouts as well.
Yeah.
I just love building layouts.
A lot of our customers, well, including yourself, really, are very, very similar there, either starting with smaller layouts or going for a great project. So it's fantastic to be sat next to someone who's got a lot of layout stories to tell, so to speak.
Yeah, definitely.
So brilliant to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So anyway, we're here at Hattons, and it really wouldn't be a trip to Hattons without asking the people in the know what's hot this year. Come on, tell me, what's the inside track?
2019, wow. Well, I mean, where do you start, to be honest with you? There's so much coming through in so many different scales as well. I mean, we've had the Hornby and various other announcements at the start of the year. There's the Princess Royal coming through.
Yeah.
Various other big 00 scale locomotives that are just starting to come into sales now as well. We've just had the bullied coaches, and they have gone absolutely hot off the press as well. Just can't keep them on the shelves at the moment, really. So, and a fantastic model. But it's such a good year for modellers.
Yeah.
Whatever scale you are and whatever you model, whatever sort of area you model, whether you're into the sort of pre-grouping steam or whether you go right through to the modern day. I mean, the Class 800, the IEP, is just coming through now. That's in LNER and GWR livery, so that really is up to this second almost in modelling terms. But just so much stuff coming through, it's hard to know where to start.
And the other thing as well, I've noticed that there's a lot of products which the likes of Hornby are announcing that people are getting so excited by. It's not just one product. There's product after product. I mean, I'm thinking about the Ruston Hornsby 48DS with the Shunters match wagon. I mean, we've talked about the big things, but let's talk about the little things. I mean, they seem to have really garnered a lot of interest.
Absolutely, and it's that sort of niche market now that's really picking up. And I mean, we had a look at the samples of those at one of the shows recently, and they're only about 2 inches long.
I know, they're tiny little things.
But they still pack a motor in there. You've got a 4-pin digital socket, all the things you need are still fitted into a model of that size. And even the same coming into the N-gauge market, we've just had the 68s in the Transpennine liveries from Dapol. We've got a few other locomotives coming through there. We're producing our own Hattons original Garrett in N-gauge as well. So for N-gauge modelers, that variety and scope for modelling is coming through just as much.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, the N-gauge now is just so incredible when you see it. I mean, I remember when I first started out modelling, the N-gauge was almost like toys. It was so crude, and yet now it is such amazing quality.
It's really caught up with double O. I mean, across the scales now, we're not really talking about toy trains anymore. It is model miniature locomotives almost. You know, some of the detail that's available in all the scales. I mean, even in O-gauge as well, the O-gauge market has a lot more new locomotives. We've just had Helgen's Class 37-4 come through for the diesel modelers, but we've also had the announcement of another run of Dapol's Ginty locomotives. The 14XX Auto Tank will be produced later in the year. That's available to pre-order now. And just the sheer variety of 2019 releases, it's going to be a year to remember.
Yeah, well, certainly I think my bank balance is going to remember this year. And, you know, sometimes you think maybe we've just never had it so good because, you know, I'm finding myself pre-ordering so much stuff and I'm thinking, oh, God, I hope it doesn't all come through on the same day.
One thing I've really found interesting is over the last few years, but certainly in 2019, is it's not just the new releases that are coming through so well. We're selling a lot of track, we're selling a lot of ballast, we're selling a lot of accessories, trees, signals, you name it. It's selling just as much, which to me...
I mean, that is great news, because that means that people are building new layouts and maybe even new people into the hobby getting started, which is really what this hobby needs.
Modelers are modelling, and that is the best news you can have, really. As much as a new locomotive is an exciting new addition to any collection, at the end of the day, if you've got a layout to put it on, if you're building an ambitious new project, be it a small yard, as you mentioned before, or a brand new mainline station, people are creating new layouts and new projects, which is, it's music to my ears.
Yeah, I mean, it's the lifeblood of the hobby. We need the new people coming in and getting this interest from an early age to keep the hobby alive, and it looks like we're getting that.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. So Dave, you've been here for 6 years, you've been a modeller for 20 plus years. How much have you seen change in that time?
A lot, actually, and it's mainly really positive as well. There's so many new markets out there now, as well as different scales and different eras coming through. I mean, you've picked up one of our old adverts there from 2001.
Yeah, this is, it's in the Rower Modeller from 2001. And it makes for some really interesting reading. And there's a couple of things that's caught our eyes here. Particularly, you know, we've talked about new models coming through in 009 and O-gauge. And when you look in this advert, look how tiny those sections are.
It's less than an inch for both there, which references what we had in O-gauge and 009 at the time. And the modelers really back then were either 00 or N-gauge, as represented by our advert. But those of you familiar with our website and the adverts now will see just the sheer amount of available narrow gauge 009 rolling stock. And there's even more to come. Pico have just announced Festiniog locomotives, the Small England and the Double Fairley, which can be pre-ordered now as well. And that's coming through. We've had the Helgen, Linton and Barnstaple. We've had various different coaches from various different railways by Pico as well. And a lot of people are really getting into that narrow gauge modelling scene now. And it's great for a small space as well, but you can do a larger layout. But as you said, for those with a bit more of a passion for a bigger locomotive, really, the O-gauge market over the last, since we did this advert in 2001, has absolutely exploded.
Very much. I mean, what actually grabs me from this, that it says new O-gauge bargains, and it's really just Pico track. And, you know, it must have been so difficult to model in O-gauge back then.
Well, that's one thing we've kept since 2001. We do have the Pico track at a bargain price, but since then, really, you've really gained a lot of ready-to-run locomotives. Dapol and Helgen, along with others, are bringing through some great items there. As we mentioned previously, we've just had the O-gauge 37-4, and that complements a huge amount of BR and early privatisation diesels by them. Dapol have brought through the smaller locomotives, such as the pannier tanks, the Ginty, LMS Ginties, and the Class 08 shunters as well. So Whereas, especially 20 years ago, but even more so now, in 00 and N gauge, you could get something for every range, but not a lot for your O gauge and 009 model.
No. It was very much, if you wanted to have a locomotive, you kind of had to build it yourself. But now...
And the words there themselves, which is, this is all the 009 we have. It was a small range, and that's totally what it meant to.
I'm just looking down here, the 009 narrow gauge bargain section. It's about an inch of column space, and at the bottom it always used to say, I remember this from back in the day, I always used to say, this is all the 009 we have. And I have this mental image of Norman Hatton on a phone going, I keep telling you, it's all we've got. And now the range is just so massive.
We do a purely O gauge newsletter now as well, so you can see how the market is there. That goes out every week, and 009 we feature on our Facebook page and in our newsletters as well, with the sheer amount of and the sheer quality of items coming through. And one of the main changes as well that you really have to remember is the quality of models across all scales coming through has, in my opinion, certainly never been better.
Yeah.
Really, the quality of the locomotives, the fine details that are achievable on models now. I mean, you've got digital coming through with sound capability. This is all items that in a 2001 catalogue were space age and pipe dream, really.
I don't even think there's... DCC doesn't even exist in this advert. I'm just looking through, and there's not even a mention of it. I don't think in 2001 locomotives even came with a socket.
It was just about to turn, I think. Locomotives were just about to start getting their first digital ready sockets. But especially in my opinion, 2019 and the catalogues at the moment, we really are in a golden age of modelling. The quality of models coming through, the availability of rolling stock, whether you're a 00 gauge modeller, an N gauge modeller, or you're going into O gauge or 009, as we've seen here. There's whatever your railway interests, there is a model of high quality available for you, and it's easy to get started now. It's easier than ever before. We offer things like bundle packs and advice for started. I mean, you yourself have done some videos on how to get started, etc. So, the invention of YouTube itself has happened since this catalogue, and videos such as this wouldn't be possible.
It. I mean, if you ever got stuck now with like, how do I do X, how do I do Y, you can go and look on YouTube, and there's a video of somebody showing you how to do it. I mean, back in 2001, if it wasn't in a magazine, you were really lost at sea in how to do things.
Absolutely, and we've got our own Facebook channel and live chat and emails. And we've still got the good old traditional telephone if you do need a bit of advice, but there's so many ways to get in touch and ask questions, really, and seek that advice out. And one of the other things as well is, just touching back on the subject, is the sheer variety of items available now. I mean, we have two of our own Hattons originals sat in front of us at the moment. We've got the P-Class, which I believe you've done a review of.
Yeah, I did a review of the South Eastern and Chatham Railway Grey one, which I think we talked about this in the last video I did here. It's sold incredibly well and actually sold out.
Yes.
Are you going to be rerunning that livery?
We're looking into more liveries in the future. There's no confirmed plans yet, but there's still opportunities to do more liveries for the P-classes, but we do have a wide range available at the moment. But one thing that really covers, again, is the availability of what's called pre-grouping liveries, so your pre-1923 colour schemes, and some of the exquisite liveries there that just weren't seen on models 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the lining here, and the quality of the lining that you're able to get on models now is so much finer than, back then, the lining would pretty much be one step away from just transfers applied.
Certainly.
And here we've got so many different passes from the tampo printing. I mean, do you find that that's actually changed the game in terms of what models are now feasible to do?
Absolutely, it really is, especially with some more of those intricate liveries that you find in the Victorian and Edwardian eras. It's suddenly opened them up to a lot of manufacturers and modelers. And fortunately, a lot of people are really interested in those areas as well, so it's a real sort of growth area to have models coming through from that. We find that, I mean, the areas that always have been popular, sort of your big four with your LMS and LNER, coming into your BR steam and then into diesel, the blue era, etc., have always been popular. But certainly at each end, either your bang up-to-date privatisation with your Class 800 IEP, or your pre-grouping locomotives right at the other end back in the 1800s and early 1900s. They are real sort of areas that were relatively unheard of in a 2001 catalogue. but now really starting to increase. And again, that's across the scales. That's whether you're a 00 gauge modeler, whether you're NO or 009, as we mentioned, or any other scale, actually. And some more of the niche items are all in stock coming through as well, such as the Beelhack snowplow that we've produced. Again, would have been completely unheard of, or a pipe dream in that sort of time.
I mean, it's one of the products, I got the chance, you lent me one of the Stratford Sharks. I was just amazed at the actual detail level that's on these things. What you think, this could have been a simple moulding for something as niche as this, but you've gone all out with so much detail and attention to detail, even the joggled frames, and when you turn it over, some of the detail that really you wouldn't normally see is there reproduced on the model.
That's exactly it. And again, the opportunities there to feature some of the really sort of high-end details, such as the differences in the solar panels on the front, etc., is allowed now with a lot more modern technology coming into place with the development of models, but also customer support, really, customer enthusiasm. As we mentioned previously, we really are getting to the stage now where we're talking about miniature rolling stock and locomotives rather than model or toy trains, so to speak. It's really starting to switch over, and in my opinion, I'm all for it. More of it, please. It's
definitely. But I mean, do you find as well, is there still a good market for the more entry level?
Absolutely. Items? It's never been a better time to get started on the more introductory level. There's a lot of products there now. As we said before, there's a lot more tutorials and availability of information out there. But the absolute basic core stuff, the other end of this, so to speak, really is currently available. I mean, we've got starter sets. We have available all the tools you need to get started. There's DVDs, starters guides that we sell. There's YouTube tutorials. For anyone wanting to get started in the hobby now, this really is the opportunity to just grasp it and really get started. As we've said, really, okay, we're both here in front of the camera, but we are modelers ourselves, so we've already been bitten by the bug, so to speak.
But I mean, do you find as well that there's so much more great products in terms of the scenery aspect?
Yes.
Whereas, back in 2001, you're looking at sort of very basic bags of almost like one up from dyed sawdust for doing your ground cover, and now we've got things like static grass, we've got terrain systems, stuff for doing solid water, all manner of products that actually make making a model railway more accessible than perhaps it ever used to be.
We do have a lot of our customers who are really passionate just about the rolling stock, and that's absolutely fine. But again, a number of our customers prefer to make the layouts themselves, and they're not really too fussed about the rolling stock that runs through them. And again, it's never been a greater time, because your standard sort of items, so to speak, the static grass that you mentioned, there's so many different variations in colour and quality and style, etc. You can really make a realistic land scene setup now. But also some of your more niche items there's scenic ranges that are coming through for things like tomato plants, cauliflowers, etc. So if you want a little allotment on your layout, we can provide that. And again, I know it sounds like a corny phrase to make, but the only limit now is your imagination, so to speak. The tools and the quality and the models are there for whatever you want to make at the end of the day, whether you want a small layout, whether you're starting off, or whether you really want to go the whole hog and make a mainline station. It's all there, and it's all such good quality as well.
It is very much so, very much. Okay, so we've talked about all of the things that are new and the changing kind of habits in railway modelling buying, but we're here at Hattons, so what's hot at the moment? What would be the top Hattons recommendations for the modeller on a budget?
Right this second?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Oh, you text me there. I mean, we have nearly 1,000 bargains on our website at the moment, but I think we've got to pull that down and just show free at the moment. So not quite sure you can make 1,000 into free, but I'll give it my best shot. So the first one we've got at the moment is actually the Oxford Rail Janus locomotive. This is in 00 scale, and we've got these for $49.50 at the moment.
That's a really good price, actually.
It is indeed, and these are in the Allied steel and wire livery, so blue with the chevrons on the front. Really attractive industrial livery there, and it comes to what we were mentioning before. A lot of the niche products now are coming into the mainstream, so industrial locomotives are becoming more popular. And this is a fantastic, highly detailed locomotive to start off with.
Yeah.
For such a great price.
That is actually, yeah, and it's a good, reliable little runner as well.
Absolutely, and the quality of detail on there, the handrails and the full cab interior as well, really make it something special.
Brilliant.
So it's a high quality, full standard model for just under £50.
Brilliant. So what about for the N-gauge modeler? What would you recommend at the moment for somebody who's maybe into bang up-to-date N-gauge type stuff?
Well, sounds like we've got the thing just for them. We've got the Cato Eurostar.
Right,
so
okay.
the train that runs between the UK, France and beyond through the Channel Tunnel since the mid-1990s, I believe. And that's an 8-car set that's available,
wow, yeah.
so it's pretty much almost a full set.
Right.
So even in N-gauge, it's quite a length, really. And that's £129.50.
Right.
So that's both power cars, and then you get 6 coaches in the middle. So for that length of train, for that price, it's a pretty rare offer to get that, really.
Yeah. And Cato is a really good manufacturer as well, so a really good, reliable mechanism.
It is, and it's a very high quality model as well, and you've got your various detailing differences between your different types of coach in there.
Right.
So for those who are fancying something a little bit international, not just for the UK customer, but also for the continental customer, there's really something there in N-gauge that's a perfect bargain.
Brilliant. What about anything else? Third item, what would you recommend?
The main thing I'd say then is we were covering before that it's an absolutely fantastic time for starters to get into the hobby.
Yeah.
There's so much quality product out there at the moment. And what we've done to help with that is put a bundle together.
Right. Okay,
so you've not only got a Hornby Caledonian train set in there, you've also got a beginner's guide and a DVD with all the top tips in there to help get started, and a full station building with platform there as well that snaps together. So if you're the new starter really wants to get into it, or wants to get back into it after a couple of years, there's a locomotive, full circular track, carriages, station building, guide on how to put it together. That is the one thing you need to get started.
So it's basically an instant model railway.
It's an instant model railway. All you need is a bit of space to put it down, kitchen table or board or something.
So basically you don't need to worry about have I got everything I need. It's just one package that you can just like set up and go without worrying about what else do I need to go with.
Absolutely, and you've got a full colour booklet with reference material there to answer any questions, and we've got a DVD guide in there as well. But as we mentioned before, really, that's also a great opportunity to either get in touch through our Facebook or send us a message, etc., or an email, or watch videos on our channel or yours where some of the tutorials are available. But at the same time, that if we've tempted you into getting started again in modelling, that really is the one to go for, and there's no better time to do it.
Definitely, and I think it's the lifeblood of the hobby, getting new people into the hobby and just nurturing that interest. And there's been a good upsurge of interest in the hobby, which is only a good thing.
Absolutely.
And something like that is a great way that, for example, a relative could buy a complete model railway in a box for a youngster who's shown that interest in railway modelling. And I'm sure you remember your first ever train set.
I do indeed. I still have it.
But I mean, that is probably a really good first train set for a youngster coming into the hobby. It's
absolutely perfect. And I mean, just again, there is a broad spectrum of bargains available at the moment. So whether you're already got a complete collection that just needs one thing added in any scale, or whether you're really tempted to get started in a fantastic new hobby, we have a bargain for you. As I mentioned, I think we were just about hitting 1,000 on the website when we came to film this.
It's one of the things which I always like doing with the Hattons website is I go straight to the bargain section, and sometimes it can be quite good inspiration to just sort of scan down and see, well, what's within my budget. And quite often it's the little things I find, some of the, perhaps things like ratio kits or some of the Hornby scale down buildings that set you thinking, actually I could make a nice little diorama or a scene with that. So, it's not just necessarily about the locomotives and rolling stock. There's so much more there that can kind of inspire you towards a new modelling project.
That's certainly it, and we've over 20,000 items on our website at the moment. Even I sometimes lose track of some of the ones we've got available. So it is great to just have a flick through sometimes, and as said, just catch up on what you missed, and as said, maybe be inspired for a brand new project.
Definitely, yeah. So anyway, it's been really great to come and have a chat with Dave here at Hattons Model Railways. But just to round this off, I mean, where do you think in the next 5 years or so that this hobby is going to take us? Because I mean, we're looking at models like this, and 5, 10 years ago, the technology wouldn't really have existed to have been able to make something like this with this kind of an intricate livery and make it commercially viable. But here it is now.
Yes.
As the technology moves on, is there any areas you think that things are going to become more viable that maybe aren't now?
I think the quality of models is only going to carry on getting better. Really, we can see here in front of us the two Hattons originals items there, as you've mentioned, the quality of the lining, etc., and those. And I think the standards are just going to keep improving and improving and improving. One area that's starting to be explored now is 3D printing. We've just produced our own 3D printed figures for the P-Class and the Andrew Barclay as well, and they've gone down very well and are very high quality. So I think it's more innovation, it's more development, it's more positive things for the modellers and modellers such as ourselves as well, really. Just more quality items coming through, really, just an increase on what we've mentioned. As I said, I feel we're in a really good time for model railways at the moment, and I just think that's going to carry on.
I mean, we're seeing so many different new models coming through that perhaps people would never have thought 10 years ago that we would ever see a model of this. Are we going to run out of locomotive classes to produce in model form?
I don't think so. I think there's a lot more to go at yet, and we'll definitely be seeing some new interesting models coming through, but models that everyone will like.
Oh, I'm really excited to see that. But anyway, thank you very much, Dave. It's been great to...
Not at all. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, no problem. It's been great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you.
And here we see the lesser spotted Jenny Kirk in her natural habitat, browsing for new trains.
Yeah.
You had a good day?
I have actually, yeah. I always love a trip out to Hattons.
Just 5 minutes.
Today's video has been brought to you in part thanks to the generous donation of my fans on Patreon, and a huge thanks goes out to Anthony Kidson, Mark Anthony, Michael Churchwood, Bob Threeton, Alec Ralph, Anthony Hunt, William Wade, Wayne Johns, and Offshore Alan. If you'd like to help support the show, head on over to patreon.com/Jennifer Kirk. Thank you. Today's video has been brought to you by my books, Bringing Home the Stars, Twinkle Little Star, and also you can get the complete comic collections of All Over the House, Books 1, Books 2, and also the wacky zany Life of Knobty Mouse. Thanks, and catch you later.